Speaking of, my brother is playing Diddy's Conquest right now, and he just keeps fucking texting me about it.
It's a good video
He's like,
game.
"Oh, I'm on the roller coaster level," or "Oh, I'm on this." Fucking great game.
Yep.
Nice.
Second best DKC.
After?
Tropical Freeze.
Oh, you have that up top too?
I would say those are the top two. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's hard to argue. I'd have to play Returns again though, because I do think that one is right up.
Oh,
there,
it's
too.
great. Yeah, Returns is awesome.
Like Tropical Freeze just kind of put it out of my mind, but like I loved Returns too.
Yep.
One of my friends was literally just texting me about, I think, either 2 or 3, and he was complaining, is like, every secret and every level is just, throw a barrel over an enemy because they're guarding the secret wall.
Probably 3 because that game's not actually that good.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with Randall Nolery,
Howdy, howdy.
John Hines,
Hello there.
and DJ Mandolini.
Yo.
And we're back as always to talk about some video games, guys. And do you ever sometimes wish you could go back and just change what you already had said in the past? I don't know if you guys ever get that feeling, but yeah, we already tried recording an episode tonight and had a little bit of a technical issue. So this is take 2 here, and yeah, we kind of fumbled our way through the first one. We've had a few drinks, so we might fumble our way through the second one here, but we'll see how this goes tonight. But yeah, we're gonna take another stab at this, and fingers crossed. There's 3 of us that are using Macs. Or are you still using your Mac, Randall? Or no?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're
2010,
there's 3 of us
baby.
that are using Macs that are probably past their prime, to say the least. So
I don't know. Big Sur is running on this, and that's the one that I think caused the problems on my end.
I literally can't update my operating system anymore. It won't let me.
Same here. Perfect. Oh, that's hilarious.
Perfect.
So, anyways, hacking our way through take 2. But yeah, Randall, I know you've been playing probably the newest game of all of us this week. So, what have you been dipping into?
Kind of, sort of newest. So I'm going to talk about. So preface before I even say what I'm going to talk about. So before I've called this Aleste, I've talked about Aleste before on the podcast. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation. It might be Alesta. It might be Aleste. But I'm going to keep saying Aleste because that's what's stuck in the back of my brain. So it's going to be Aleste Collection. So this came out in December of 2020. It's on Switch and PS4, and it's a compilation, basically, of the 8-bit Aleste games that compile. One of my favorite shmup developers compile. The designers of Musha and Robo Aleste and Spriggan and Space Megaforce on Super Nintendo. Some just classic, like old school traditional shmups.
I'm glad you mentioned the Super Nintendo because I know they're more known for like the Sega stuff.
They are.
At least in my mind.
Yeah, in mine too, because Musha and Robo Aleste, those.
Yeah, those are the 2 that come to
mind.
mind for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love all those games like so much. They're not bullet hell shmups; they're just classic shmups. But I don't know. I kind of prefer that style, especially as I get a little bit older here. That's nice. Let's take it a little easy. Like,
let me breathe
fun
while I play this game.
That's right. Yeah. So this collection is primarily those 8-bit games, though, that came out between 88 and 93. 2 of them on Master System, and then 3 of them on Game Gear. The Master System games are Aleste / Power Strike, depending on the region, and then Power Strike 2. And those games are good. They're very competent games, but the games that I'm way more into on this collection are the Game Gear games. In fact, I do own Power Strike 2 on Game Gear already. I've owned it for a few years back when I collected a lot of Game Gear games because, hey, you can get Game Gear games for like $5 or less. And like it was another system that I could still collect on that wasn't like obscenely expensive to do so. So that's fun to do for me.
For sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So
and you and I had like exhausted, like I can't even think of any more Super Nintendo games I need to add to my collection.
Well,
like we've got all the main system stuff. So
and at this point, if you want any other ones, it's like $80 or more to get them.
Yeah, you're dipping into your savings.
Like the whole retro collecting scene got a little bit hot and still is. So that made Game Gear appealing, and I really enjoy Game Gear. I like these simplified games that just like know what they are and like maximized, that 8-bit hardware, as much as possible. And what's cool about Game Gear in particular is it's taking what's basically Master System / NES hardware, like real true 8-bit hardware, but adding more of kind of a 16-bit color palette. You get a lot more colors than you would if, this was just on Master System. So
yeah, there's a little more depth. I remember, I had the Lion King game on Game Gear, and, it reminded me a lot of the Super Nintendo Lion King game. It was very reminiscent.
And there's a lot of that on Game Gear specifically, where you're getting a lot of kind of demakes of the 16-bit games on 8-bit hardware, but it just felt like a little bit more like streamlined, faster, more colorful, vibrant 8-bit hardware.
Yeah, it was doing way more than the Game Boy was doing. That's for sure.
Yeah, totally. Although, you have to burn through those batteries playing on Game Gear. But the main games that interest me on this were those Game Gear games. So GG Aleste, which is like an awesome game that I never got a chance to play until this Aleste Collection, because it's like a $400 to $500 game, Japanese only. It's like insanely expensive. I always had my eye on it because I wanted to play it, but I never thought it was a possibility. And I'm just not someone that emulates that often.
Yeah,
and it's a really good game. As it is, I'm really impressed with it. I already owned GG Aleste 2. Or Power Strike 2, the version that I own is from Europe on Game Gear. I had bought it a few years back when it was still relatively affordable. Now it's like a $200 to $300 game on its own. So
Jesus,
like I said, these Game Gear games are supposedly like $5 and less, but not these Aleste games. But they're really good. They play just like 16-bit games, so I love them. And on this collection, they play just as well as at least that cartridge does, in my Game Gear, which is awesome. But what this collection does, because M2, the publisher and the porter of this collection, they always go above and beyond. I love M2. So, in this collection, they take advantage of the side real estate that you have. So all these games are full, the full screen 4:3 aspect ratio. But that leaves the sides on a widescreen TV as unused space, and they fill it with useful information based on the game that you're playing. They can show you things like all the different power-ups that you could pick up, which are only designated as like a given letter in a game, which doesn't really give you a lot of information unless you have memorized, what that letter pickup means.
Right.
But on the side, it'll show you, an S is whatever, a spread, or like whatever the different letters are. There's a bunch of different power-ups in all these games, so until you've played them a handful of times, you don't really know. So that's very helpful to see that. And it'll also show you, your score. It'll show you your invincibility timer, information that's not like as prevalent if you were just playing on the Game Gear alone, but, is nice to have on the sides of the screen now.
And for what it's worth, not cluttering up the game screen.
Totally.
That stuff's off the gameplay screen.
Which I also love.
Because on Game Gear, I'm sure that clutters up the actual screen a little bit.
And what they do is they just don't show you that stuff. You just have a pure score counter, essentially. That's the only thing you're getting. Maybe the number of lives. It's not much information you're getting on that Game Gear screen. They make the most of it.
Nice.
But you're also getting other options that M2's added, like the ability to reduce sprite flicker, pixel perfect modes. You can map your own controls. You can do save states if you want to, which I've used. And, I'm not the biggest user of save states, but in a shmup, it's nice to be able to, I'm on a killer run. It's level 3. Let me do a quick save state of that. I can go back when I want to and load that up again. That's always nice.
Yeah, let me get back. Well, let me wait until I'm back in the zone.
Exactly. And the zone is very important. And I will say, this is a Japanese-only collection for now. There's rumors that they might be doing an English translation and might bring it overseas, but nothing's been confirmed. So there's some menu text that's in Japanese, but it's super manageable to kind of move your way around this collection, and that wasn't a hindrance. And all the default options are perfect for jumping into these games. But the other thing I wanted to highlight is GG Aleste 3, which is a brand new game that M2 developed for this collection, and they developed it to run on Game Gear hardware, which is like above and beyond. Like they could have just made it like themed like the Aleste games, but they went ahead and developed it for Game Gear.
You're talking on like all fronts, like audio, everything.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they like push this thing to its limits. It feels like the other ones do too, feel more like a 16-bit than an 8-bit thing, but like this even more so. Like it's very impressive. I think GG Aleste 3 is reason enough to buy the collection, let alone the other Game Gear games that are great on their own. It feels great. It looks great. The color vibrancy is awesome. Fast action, energetic soundtracks. Like it's really good. So I recommend it just for GG Aleste 3. And then, I went and spent too much money and I got the micro Game Gear as well, which is, it's very small. It fits in the palm of your hand. It's not very big, but it's kind of a cool novelty thing to have that I just couldn't resist because I'm such a big compile shooter fan that I had to get this for the Aleste collection. And it is I just played it again before we recorded, and it is technically playable. It's probably not it's probably not the way you want to play it much.
It's got a physical magnifying glass.
Yeah. It does. It's got a necessary magnifying glass on it. And I appreciate that. But I like these weird novelty one-offs, and I couldn't resist. So like, of course I had to get it for this, and I'm glad I own it. But yeah, play it on Switch or PS4 because both of those are region free to import from Japan. So, it's all a fun novelty if you can get the Game Gear Micro, but it's not a necessity if you can get one of those other versions to just play GG Aleste 3 because it's awesome.
Nice, yeah. And like you were saying, when we recorded the first time around, like hopefully this version will sell well enough so that they release like a second version for all the 16-bit shmups. Because again, talking about like Musha and was it Robo Aleste, right?
Yeah, Musha, Robo Aleste, Space Megaforce, the Spriggan. Like there's tons of awesome 16-bit compile shooters. And yeah, I hope that this sold well enough and is doing well enough that it'll warrant creating another collection, because those are the games that they're really known for and they're excellent.
Right.
If they want to go ahead and make a 16-bit new game, I would be very pleased.
I was just going to say, and if M2 takes another stab at the compile shmups in 16-bit form, I'm all for that.
They crushed it, and I know they brought in some compile developers from the way back when to help make it, and it just feels like they made another one of those, like time never passed, except, it's even better, pushes the hardware more. So yes, please do that.
Nice.
I'd love it.
Nice. More of that modern retro.
I love it. It's my favorite.
Well, I guess real quick before we actually recorded tonight, I just was playing a bunch of small like indie games like I'm prone to do. But I ended up playing this game that the alpha demo just got released yesterday as of the time of recording this episode, at least. It's called Big Boy Boxing. And it's very much a like spiritual successor to kind of like the Super Punch Out, and I'm only calling out Super Punch Out because it's more of like a 16-bit style, or even like 32-bit style pixel art. But it really caught my eye because it's got that kind of first person or like over the shoulder perspective, but you really kind of only see like your gloves floating in the air. They're like really kind of highlighted. You do see like a little phantom, like really. Like I didn't notice it until I was playing the game in action. Like in the clips I saw, couldn't even really see the outline of the character. I really thought it was like just the gloves floating. I was like, I wonder how this game plays. Yeah. And you kind of see like a faint outline of the character, but essentially this alpha demo, and it is like it says in the demo, it's like very, very early alpha demo or whatever. And it truly is just the tutorial of the game. And you fight a punching bag. You got your coach Hank teaching you the ropes. And this is from Soup Masters is the name of the developer, by the way. But this is a game that is like immediately after playing the demo, I played it and it like gives you a little thank you screen after and it's like boot the demo again or start the fight again. And again, you learn the ropes, you fight a punching bag for a second and then it turns into the hobo dude and you just fight this like bum. It looks more like a caveman more than a hobo, I would say. But maybe a little less hairy than your average caveman. But basically you just, it's a Super Punch-Out style fight.
Yeah.
Same style mechanics. You can dodge to the left, to the right. You can duck back. And then you can do like a body blow, left or right jabs, or essentially, or you can do like a jab to the face by holding forward while you punch. And then you also have the only other, there's like kind of, I don't remember. I'm not super into the Punch Out series. I feel like that's more from my recollection. It's more about dodging and like timing, which this is as well. But you are able to like counter attacks in a way. Like if the character flashes at a certain time, you can punch them. I don't know if you could do that in the Punch Out series, but then
Super Punch Out, you definitely you could get a little bit more aggressive, I would say, compared to the first Punch Out.
Okay.
That way.
Nice. And again, I'm sure these bosses or these people that you're fighting are going to get much tougher than the hobo dude here.
Yeah.
But like you're basically just kicking the shit out of this guy. Although I did lose most of my battles against him. The first battle, but you can kind of like take a bunch of cheap shots at his face and stuff. But as far as like getting that timing down, I really had a tough time. I really had a tough time getting like that counter timing down. But when you are able to get that down, you get like this thunderbolt. That if you take a heavy blow while you have those collected, you can actually lose them, which is cool. So you have a little bit of risk reward. But if you're able to execute those, you can just get like a heavy shot in on their health bar. And it's kind of plays like a fighting game. And from what I read in the Itch.io page description, it sounds like they're kind of going for like obviously the Punch Out inspiration, but also going for like a little bit of a Cuphead vibe with like super expressive and animated characters. And again, not that Punch Out doesn't have that as well, but it looks like they're going for like multi-phase bosses and stuff like that. So yeah, I just really recommend checking out the demo. I recorded a video of the demo as well, just playing through it real quick. But I just played for like 10 or 15 minutes and had a great time with that one, and can't wait to see what else they do with that concept.
Nice.
But I did want to talk about a couple other indie developers real quick that I've mentioned on the podcast before, but I got sucked into a couple games or a couple developers, like just poking around on Itch.io. But Pixel Boy, who I've mentioned in the past, I believe I talked about Tempo Quest and Guardian Sphere on the podcast, which one of those is like a dungeon crawler. One of them's a shmup. Very innovative. Like they have about a dozen games, and we'll definitely link to their Itch.io page on our in the episode description here. But the game that I stumbled across is called The Station, and it's actually a demo as well, but it's more of like a prototype because it sounds like I saw some posts from about 6 months ago that they were intending on working on this further, but they're just caught up on working on some other projects at the moment. But it's basically like a top-down, Zelda style dungeon crawler. And the demo took me like 25 minutes to play through or so, but it's got some like Pokemon vibes as far as like the gameplay goes, but it also art style wise and music wise and everything wise, it has some Caro Blaster vibes.
Oh yeah.
And if you've listened to the podcast before, you know that I fucking love Caro Blaster.
Yes,
I can't get enough. I've beaten every mode of that game, and I probably will play it again. I can't get enough. And this is very much like it's got the same style, or I shouldn't say the same, but it's got its own like unique style, but it's very much like that bright and colorful, chunky pixels. Again, it's top down, so totally different style gameplay, but really poppy, peppy music. Like I'm just loving the vibe, everything. And I don't know if it's like a police station. You kind of look like you're like a cop or a detective or something, but you're essentially just looking your way through this demo, and essentially you eventually find this capture wand, which you can not only use to capture like these Pokemon style creatures, and at one point you get to pick between like one of three at the beginning, and like I picked this little carrot creature, and it's like, oh, odd choice. But anyways, I eventually found this like purple beast, and you can level them up to like each character. That's kind of how you attack over time.
Okay. And
like you can level them up, and it seems like you can only level them up 2 or 3 levels, and then they're maxed out. But yeah, it's just like a super innovative, and with this capture wand, you actually have to hold down a button. You have a small radius that you can kind of, your character will stay stationary, and then you kind of move a cursor around, and then that's how you either touch an enemy or touch a creature to capture it and make that like your new attack. And that's how you kind of essentially get new weapons. Or you can like use it to like, press a switch that's like across a waterway that you can't walk across or something like that.
Okay.
But essentially it's just got some light puzzle solving. And again, it sounds like this is just like a proof of concept, but like the polish, it's got full gamepad support. It's just unbelievable. I really cannot wait to see what else they do with this game, because Pixel Boy, I just love their aesthetic, love everything they're doing. And then briefly, I ended up checking out another game of theirs called Fairy Song, and I only played about halfway through this. And this is a more complete game, kind of Daniel Linson vibes. Okay. But it's just like you're flying around, you're like a little Kirby-esque character. but you're a little fairy, I guess. Is Kirby a fairy? I don't know. I guess I'm thinking of Clefairy.
Clefairy is
Pokemon
a fairy.
style. I'm like mixing Pokemon and Kirby.
Yeah.
Kirby is an eldritch horror.
But
Kirby
yeah, it's
is
like
Kirby.
this is a yeah, exactly. But it's a totally non-violent game. It actually is 2 players. I forgot to mention that when we recorded the first time around, but it's 2-player multiplayer. I think it's like split screen, but it's like this black and white outline aesthetic. It does have a few different palettes. Like when you go underwater, it like changes to like this blue aesthetic, but it's like this massive world with just some light puzzle solving. You know, you're picking up little things to trigger switches or open levers or stuff like that, open doorways. And pretty much to the best of my knowledge, like I said, I got about halfway through. I don't really know what I'm doing because there is no dialogue, no anything. But when you fly past like these little characters that are all in these different zones and they're all like very unique, like one-off characters. But like when you fly past them, a little fairy kind of floats above them. And I was at 49% when I quit. So I'm assuming that maybe I flew past 49 of those characters and I have to find all 100 of them and fairify them all. But yeah, I don't really know for sure, but I love the aesthetic, love the music. Like it's really minimal in every way. Like, but it's just like when you get into a new area, it's like, oh, and now I'm in kind of like a beach zone and there's like this little like calypso music kind of coming in. And like now I'm over in like a forest and there's more of like this kind of like castle area, and then there's like a kind of like majestic theme coming in. It's just a really cool world to explore, and I can only imagine it'd be more fun to play co-op. So
Also, I didn't call it out the first time we recorded, but fairify is one of the best words you could have come up with for that.
I caught that.
I mean,
too.
what else is it doing? That, you know, what are you doing?
That just made me smile so much.
I'm pretty sure because I recorded a video for this game too, and I'm pretty sure I said that a few times. I was like, am I just supposed to fairify these people?
They've been fairified.
And they're not people at all. They're just like these weird creatures. Like, I don't know, but a really cool game, and really like I love these kind of just like like these mysterious games. And then again, I just wanted to highlight another indie developer that I've mentioned on the podcast before, RXI. And one of the reasons I said before we started recording that I was glad that we had to re-record this episode, because this developer RXI, their games do not have controller support, unlike Pixel Boy. But I use this program Anti-Micro. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but I just want to make sure I call it out all the time because it is the best software for remapping like a keyboard to a controller.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Like I've remapped some like twin stick shooters that are meant to be played totally with mouse and keyboard. Like I've made them work on a controller and work well.
Wow.
I can't say I've been able to do it for every game, but just if you struggle playing with mouse and keyboard like I do, Anti-Micro, can't recommend it enough.
Awesome.
But RXI, yeah, I've mentioned Shuriken and Scanline from them on the podcast before.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about a couple of games that I played. One of the games I played was called Stray, and it's like this top-down dungeon crawler. It's black and white, kind of like CRT style, like warped. You know, it's got that like bubble kind of warped effect like a CRT would have. And then like same thing with the music. It's just this like droney kind of, I know, it's just this really mysterious vibe, and you're basically just exploring around, very minimal dialogue, and you can just interact with things, and it's some light puzzle solving. You got to find some keys, open pathways, and just kind of explore around. And you would think normally you get like a little melee weapon, but you actually get like a little like laser blaster once you find your weapon, and it's kind of like a, you know, it shoots forward kind of like Link does when you have full health in the original Zelda game.
Right.
You know, when you have the hero sword or the Hyrule sword. What is it?
Master Sword.
Master Sword. Jesus Christ.
Hyrule sword.
Some Nintendo fanboy on the Hyrule sword. But yeah, when you have full health and everything, you can. In this game, you only can take one hit, so I guess you're always at full health. But thankfully, there's plenty of checkpoints around. Although later in the game, they're fewer and further between. But I ended up playing through this game twice. Still haven't found all the secrets. It tells you at the end, like when you finish, it says I found. For the first time, I only found one secret. I found 3 of 6 secrets the second time.
Okay.
And I really, I don't know where the hell the other 3 are. But I do intend on honestly going back. I really had a great time playing this game. And then a game that I had an even greater time playing. And again, this was more of a precision platformer, so there's no way in hell I could have played this without a controller. So again, thank you, Anti-Micro. But I played this game called Gift. And it's like a side-scrolling platformer, but more of like an open world like you're puzzling around and you got to solve puzzles again, kind of the same as Stray. You got to find keys and whatnot and open your way. But the difference in this is like the only way you're able to kill enemies is by picking up rocks and throwing them at enemies. But you have to kind of pick them up and carry them throughout the level, because you'll sometimes find a path where like, oh shit, there's 3 enemies over here that I have to hit 2 times each. And there's no projectiles. There's no way for me to take them out. And there's a key I need to get past, or sometimes the enemies will be holding a key. So like, I have to kill that enemy. Now it is nice where once you kill that enemy one time, if you get back to that room, they'll have dropped the key already. Like it kind of saves things. So if you like throw a key into the water and it disappears, it'll kind of just respawn on a safe area near you. So really like quality of life, especially for something that I do believe was whipped up during a game jam. But this game is honestly a contender for like my game of the year at the end of the year. Like I played through it. It only took me about a half an hour, but like I will definitely be going back to this game again and again. I want to get like a full playthrough without dying. Like I'm so committed to doing that. I don't care about speed running, although I'm sure there are people who have speed runs of this game, but like I'm more into like, I want to try to beat this game without dying, because it just feels so satisfying to like run around and explore. And like you also have this like Mega Man slide, so you got to do some puzzle solving where you're like picking up items and like throwing them over an area that you can't slide through with the item because it won't fit. So you have to like throw it over a gap or whatever and like slide through and catch it. I guess you don't always have to catch it per se, but pick it up after the fact. And just such a cool little game. And then I'm not going to really go into this one, but there's another game they may develop called Cyan, and it's same deal, like just a single level precision platformer. Just if you're into that sort of thing, I just can't recommend the games from RXI enough, including the ones that I've mentioned previously on the podcast. But I think I've been gabbing about indie games for long enough here.
Yeah, let's cut it
per
out.
usual.
Hand it over to me,
playing, DJ.
Well, as I was talking about last time on the cast, been playing Sekiro, and I beat it. And not only did I beat it, there are 4 different endings, and without looking it up beforehand, I did manage to get like the best, like most complex like ending there was, which is like not how I typically end up with the From Software titles. So this was like it was very nice to like have that experience, and like looking stuff up afterwards. It was like, you know, even the small stuff I missed, I'm not like beating myself up over. It's like, this was sweet. This game was sweet. Like I'm excited for like when I go back for a second time, because I've played all the From Software games multiple times.
Right.
I definitely want to reevaluate this in the future, but right now I'd say it's sitting up in my top 2 of the From Software titles, along with Dark Souls 3.
I was just going to say, what's the other one that's up there? Yeah.
But it might be number 1. We'll see. We'll have to give an update later.
That's impressive, because I know you're huge on these games.
I am. Just, man, that huge like upgrade in mobility is just very nice, very refreshing. But yeah, so ended that, then like I started some like smaller games just to like decompress a little bit. So started Worms Rumble, which was like a PS Plus free game from like a month or so back, and I've only like very limited experience with the Worms franchise. I had only owned Battleground, so never too familiar. So with Worms Rumble, you're going from prior Worms games where it's just side scroll turn based kind of strategy like squad game to like you're just one worm. It's just real time, and it's like either deathmatch mode or like a battle royale mode. And these matches are like 5 minutes long. It's definitely a pared down like inventory list. Like you're only working with like not even like 10 different guns, and
considering you'd have like 25 in some of those later Worms games.
But the older ones are like more like Lemmings, and this sounds like this is like nothing like that at all. Or maybe not Lemmings, but
yeah, I mean, I'm a scrub with the Worms games. I I can't compete with these people that have the in-depth knowledge. So just
they got those arcs down to a science.
Ninja rope skills, baby.
Give me that sheep. He'll seek out the enemies. Like, that's all I need.
Super sheep.
Yeah, man. It's been a fun time. Like, I spent like maybe like 4 or 5 hours on it, just with the goal of like, okay, if I am gonna be able to move past this game, I have to beat each mode at least once. Did that. I might go back regardless, because again, it was a lot of fun. I mean,
PlayStation Plus game. Hey.
I don't know how it's perceived amongst the Worms community, though. Like, I don't know if it's like, well, this is so different, like this is blasphemy, but like, I don't know, man. I like it. It's fun. It still feels like it has that same charm.
As a previous member of the Worms community, I'll say that, like, I think they had wrung out everything they could after Worms World Party, I would say, and then it was time to figure out something else.
Fair.
Yeah. I'm definitely, I mean, if I sounds like I canceled my PS Plus subscription a little too early, but like, I would definitely check this out, especially I would love to play like with you in particular, like online.
Heck yeah. I'll restart your subscription. Just let me Venmo you.
There you go.
And so, yeah, after playing some Worms Rumble, also moved over to Maneater, which is a game I was only a little bit familiar with through like seeing a video that Donkey made about it, which was just like kind of funny, kind of like making fun of how reviewers would be like, oh, it's got like not the best lock-on system, and then end up giving it like a pretty decent review overall. It's like, okay, like there's a little disconnect between what you're saying and your overall verdict, but
yeah, it's like any reviewer is like a 7 is like the worst thing ever.
Exactly.
Like, come on.
Game reviews.
So, I mean, I went in with like low expectations, and like I think that worked out perfectly because, you know, what I wanted was something kind of mindless that I didn't need to be so hyper engaged with, like a From Software title. So yeah, with this, you're just like, you're feeding on, you're just a shark that's feeding on like underwater life and also humans, and like you're just
overwater life.
Yeah, you got you got a little
overwater life.
Yes,
that was so good.
You got like a little bit of a GTA sort of element where, you know, you've got these like hunting boats after you, and the more like damage you cause, like the bigger and stronger crews they send after you. So it's just a bunch of mindless fun violence. Not much to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
how are the controls? Because I know you're underwater, so I know swimming can sometimes be like it could be a pain in the ass in some video games.
You know, sometimes it can be a little frustrating because it's true. Like it kind of acts like it has a lock-on system, and it really doesn't. Like you're not really. It looks like you're locked onto someone, but you kind of do have to like deliberately go towards your target. But like, I mean, navigation generally is pretty decent, and you can move pretty fast, and you know it only gets better as you like evolve. Like, I mean, you start off as a baby being like cut out of your mom's belly, and you just like
a little C-section.
Yeah, you just you know, it's all about revenge against the person who the hunter that did that to you.
That's right.
And so yeah, you start off as a little pup, and then you just turn into a shark elder who's just wrecking everything.
After you fed enough, can you jump out of the water onto the boat?
Oh yeah. Oh
yes.
Yeah. Haven't you seen my clips, Randall? Come on. Yeah. Yeah. It's
and this
really
is another
dope.
PS Plus game too, right?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Come on. But yeah, so like it only took me like 10-ish hours, and I 100%ed the game. So just a nice, mindless, fun RPG. And
yeah, then
I got a text from John about a game he was playing, and I had to shift gears.
Mm-hmm. So Yes, I don't know what we've saved from our conversations that we had on our previous episode, because it happened while we were quote unquote off air, or at least when we were done recording. But I picked up the PS4 from DJ now that he's got his PS5. And while I was going through his catalog of games that he had preloaded on there, I decided to dip my toes into Dark Souls 2 as my next installment in the Souls franchise.
Nice.
And as someone who's had a love-hate relationship with Dark Souls 1, I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to react to it. And in our first recording, I did a very extensive play-by-play of the texts I sent to DJ, cataloging basically my frustration and just me texting him, I hate this sucks, why, okay, this sucks slightly less, over and over again. But that mostly
and why was that, John?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, what led to that experience, at least
the clip
in the short version
of it is the fact that I wasn't entirely clear on where I needed to go in the game for multiple points at the very beginning of the game. I thought I couldn't find the path out of the very first area in the game before you even meet the NPC, which gives you the mechanic to level up. And I was forcing myself to go up against a semi-secret enemy that I thought was the correct path to go right from the beginning. And that's when I was introduced.
Enemy.
Yeah.
And again, between Dark Souls and just like Nier Automata is like an example of a game that just starts off with like a massive boss battle that could be the final boss battle in another game, at least visually, you know. So you could think like, oh, this is normal, especially for a Dark Souls game.
Oh yeah,
and
to just kick my ass right off the bat. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no, this is just a trial by fire. I need to get every single pattern down. I need to get my blocks down, even if the block is taking out half of my health each time.
I need to get good.
Right. It's my fault as a player. And yeah, it wasn't until, I looked a little bit further in the first bonfire in the game and realized, oh, there's a path that literally leads to a tutorial area that gives you prompts like use an attack that maybe I shouldn't be fighting this enemy that I'm still having difficulty now at the place that I'm at.
You're just a good explorer. You just find the secrets right away.
But
I will say, based on the way you talk about playing Metroid Prime, although I know you're massively familiar with that game, but you're always like, I'm trying to game break and jump over these walls and skip these sections. So I know you poke and prod at the edges. Yeah.
But anyway, the thing that I did immediately after finally finding my way to the hub of the world, and the difference between Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 1 primarily is that Dark Souls 1 is this interconnected world where each individual level or whatever kind of leads into another, and there's many different paths, and it's all one giant open world, whereas Dark Souls 2 is there's this hub area in Majula, and you kind of go out in various different paths out through there, and each path isn't necessarily connected to the next. And I went to the area that, in my opinion, was the most obvious path to go, and seemed like very clearly, oh yeah, this is the path that I should go down. And after running my head up against that wall for 40 levels of progression, of just going up against enemies that were giving me 8 times the souls that the recommended beginning area would give. It wasn't until I was running into difficulty, because there's a maximum health handicap where each time you die in Dark Souls, you lose 10% of your max health unless you use a human effigy, which restores your humanity, which is also a limited item that there are unless you're like farming enemies for like, you can't get like an unlimited amount of those and restore your humanity. So I was going through an area that was a mid-level or mid-game area with 50% health right from the beginning with beginning equipment and no, like, I didn't have arrows, which is a thing that I use predominantly in my playthroughs or any source of any type of magic. I didn't have that. So I was just going
poke with your stick.
With my
beginning we know about your dragon sniping.
And
anyway,
it's wild how like that was the first place you went to where like on my first playthrough, I missed that area completely.
Oh wow.
Because like there's
the
like
game without going there.
Yeah.
And DJ's like, somebody who pokes and prods too, so
I was a dumb. There was like a chain on the wall that I missed that like opens up where he was and I just didn't see it, and so it just
yes, you missed a chain whereas I missed a clear path like that would go to the recommended first area.
To be fair, that's how we're like kind of taught as people that play video games, though. You like just poke for secrets in every
look for the
area.
interactive object, or look for, I mean, even in Mario games, like it's at this point, it's like slide against every wall just to make sure there's not an invisible one.
Yeah, it's always like go to the area that you think isn't the main area first, and then
even in a game when I think I'm on the right path, I'm like, wait a second, this feels too correct, so I better go check that other path first.
My God. Yep.
But anyway, after like I went through and finally put myself on the right path, finally unlocked the mechanics that are the things that I love in the Dark Souls games. Like I really started to chip away at the game in a way that felt way more satisfying than when I played Dark Souls 1. And the thing that like happened when I was playing Dark Souls 1 is that I would just keep running into either roadblocks or bosses where I couldn't progress, and like I just felt very frustrated playing them. And I haven't really run into that in Dark Souls 2, and from discussions from other people like online, like I've, that's a complaint that people have, that's like, oh, the bosses are a lot easier, or just the layout of the game in particular is so drastically different from like what do they call the canon ones, because apparently Miyazaki didn't design this one, so, and it doesn't have a connecting story to 1 or 3. So like people like look at this game very differently, or like critically, and comparing it to the other canon games in the series.
So you're saying this is the Majora's Mask of Dark Souls.
And which is again in complete alignment for why I love it.
Why you like it,
now.
And honestly, the fact that you're just saying the bosses are easier, that's like enough for me to be like, oh, maybe this is the one I should play.
And
the consensus online is like the difficulty in like most Dark Souls games, like each individual enemy is kind of unique and difficult, but with like Dark Souls 2, like they're dumbed down, but they just throw more at you. So it's difficulty and quantity, not like each individual enemy being like its own kind of challenge. Yeah,
because I do remember, I've only played a tiny bit. And did you ever beat the original Dark Souls, John?
No. I got,
and I know you put a lot of time in.
Yeah. I think what is there like 4 like main souls that you need to defeat? Yeah, I got through 1 of those.
Seath?
Yeah, Seath the Scaleless. Is that the easiest?
No, it's hard to say. I mean,
I think you're being kind. I think it's the easiest.
No, well, I know Tomb of the Giants is just a shit level to go through, and I know that's giving you some difficulty. But like that is a notoriously difficult. Like, just it's so dark.
It's so dark. And which is a mechanic that I'm a huge fan of, like small progression. And a thing that happens in Dark Souls 2 is they added the mechanic of torches, which is something that like stays throughout like your deaths and throughout your bonfires. Like usually when you go to a bonfire, that would respawn all the enemies. But like you said, like they kind of throw just a ton of like way more enemies in each world. And once you defeat the enemies like a set amount of times, they stop respawning. So that is kind of a way that they like, you know, throw roadblocks or like slow your progression through things, and you're just slowly making your way through areas until, you know, if you're playing the game like I do, you're just eventually wiping out enemies until they don't respawn anymore, and you can make your way a little bit further.
Are you intentionally doing that or incidentally?
Both. I am definitely doing it at the very beginning of each area where
yeah, for sure.
I'm just like, when I have no bearings on where I'm supposed to go or what I'm supposed to do, I'm just like, all right, like just make a little bit further, maybe light the next torch so you have at least one waypoint that you can go.
So the torches stay lit between deaths as well. Okay, I didn't grasp that at first. Okay, that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was saying like how my favorite area in any Dark Souls game is No Man's Wharf, which is when you first get there, a completely dark area with a bunch of like bottomless pits into water and like enemies behind every corner. And little by little, you just make your way you find your way to the next shack and light that torch. And then 5 dudes come out of that and just destroy you. But then you know that, and you can anticipate that, and you can move a little bit further each time until you finally make your way to the end. And like, it's just such a satisfying feeling. And it's like the small progressions in Dark Souls 2 is just a little bit more rewarding than they give you in Dark Souls 1, which is just like, I don't know. It's just enough for me to feel like there's always something I can do. There's always a new area I can go to. And it's like, I don't feel as walled off to new content that I was in 1.
Which is, that's saying something, especially just considering that like you started off kind of feeling walled off, you know, like the first thing you did was like getting stuck. So I know that's sometimes what happens. And like after texting DJ, it's like, oh, okay, I'm just on the wrong path. But like that can sometimes be enough for me to just never play a game again, you know? So that's cool that you kept forging ahead.
I was about to just skip straight to 3, and I'm really glad I didn't, because honestly, I feel like because this game is kind of like the black sheep of them, and because it's, you know, slightly easier in certain ways, and, you know, has like other difficulties that it imposes, but honestly, like, I feel like this is the Dark Souls for me, and maybe that'll change once I play 3, but I feel
I don't know. I mean, like, I, before you had played 2, I figured like 2 would be the one that you like. Because like Dark Souls 3 is more linear. Like I think it's, you know, I think it nailed everything gameplay wise is like best of the 3, and like I think it still has, like, I like the world of 1 and like the lore, and like it still very much captures that. Whereas like I don't feel that as much in 2. Again, it's like it's kind of its own disconnected thing pretty much. I want you to like 3, but I mean, if you love 2, can I really complain? I got you to love it, Darks. I got you to love it, Darks.
Yes, you did. you legitimately
you're doing, DJ. You know, the fact that you're saying 3 is more linear, now I'm kind of like, maybe 3 is the one I should play. Dude, but maybe I just don't ever. Maybe these games aren't for me.
Yeah,
no. 2's piqued my interest
Sekiro
based on John's feedback.
Same here. But I thought I was going to be into Bloodborne, and I tried that one, and I hated that. But I really want to try Sekiro, because I do think that one looks, even just watching it in action, I want to play it. Where like the other ones, I feel like I hear they're good and I want to play it, but this one I like see and I want to play it.
It was a little rough, like transitioning, like, oh, I don't have a jump anymore.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, going from Sekiro back to Dark Souls. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
when falling through a bottomless pit would just kill you.
Just wreck you.
Yeah. And how far along are you in Dark Souls 2, John?
I'm about 40 hours in, which is roughly like pretty close to when DJ would beat a Dark Souls game.
Yeah, I'm about 15 hours in, and I'm maybe halfway done.
And
although I don't think I've done the DLC, like this is maybe the only DLC I haven't done of all the From Software stuff. So there is like new stuff I need to do, and like I need to.
That's cool.
I do need to like look up how to access everything, because like you can get yourself like walled off. Like there's okay. I don't know how much you're like looking online, John. I'll just say if you find any souls of giants, keep those.
Okay. I mean, I don't spend any souls that are like not
special boss ones. Yeah. I mean, because I started like on a deprived run, I was like, I just need to fucking spend these. I need all the souls I can get to like try to catch up, starting at level 1.
Typical DJ hardcore mode.
I guess, yeah, that's another thing that we haven't really mentioned is the fact that because I kind of play these Souls games atypically, like I play 100% offline, so I don't have any PvP, PvE, like anything where
no
like,
interruptions, if you will,
or like any opportunities to get souls outside of the like specific like enemies.
I see. I didn't realize you got souls from those interactions.
Oh yeah,
but you can also lose souls from those interactions.
Absolutely, and just never get them back.
But yeah, I'm definitely curious. I'm sure you're going to talk some more Dark Souls 2 as you maybe see it through to the end, John.
I am infinitely more likely to beat Dark Souls 2 than I am Dark Souls 1.
That's awesome.
Heck yeah. Well, yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking more Souls games, whether it's Dark Souls 2 or From Software or whatever in the future. But I think we can pretty much wrap up the games talk here this week, guys, if everybody's feeling good.
Yes, sir.
And we can... to make it easy, you can find us on the internet at linktree/pursuingpixels.
Ooh.
You can find all our stuff there, but we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube. Pretty much just look up /pursuingpixels or search us on any of those platforms. But yeah, otherwise, and Discord, please join us on Discord. We got a little more action going on there. I know we say that, I say that almost every week as we close out, but that's a good thing. Every week we're getting a little more action.
Oh, yeah. We got a nice little community there.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, feel free to come in and hang out and let us know some games that we should check out. But in the meantime, we'll catch you next week, and take care, everybody, and we'll catch you then.
Bye-bye.
Boy.
Bye.
I almost did a fucking Paul Rudd there. We'll catch you next week, and we'll catch you then. Hopefully I can edit some of that out, but I think we made it.
Yeah. I'm going to stop my recording and save it because I don't fucking trust this.
Probably smart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just to be safe.
Let's go. I guess we should all probably do that, huh?